right. There we are. Okay. So now you've got the handout, and it's the PREACH acronym. All right, like I said, I wanted to get this out to you so we could use it as a one paragraph response, or what?
You're not in the camera.
I don't care if I'm in the camera. They can hear me. Okay? They can hear me. That's all that matters. This is what I want in the camera. Got it? And this, but not that, because look, there's the handout. And the handout is already on Classroom.
I'm so excited for the person that watched.
I mean, your shadows, isn't it?
People, you act like this is the first. I've got 50 videos on there, okay? It's not like this is the first time we've ever done this. Maybe it's the first time I've done it with your class.
No.
And I guarantee it'll be the last time. I usually do it with second period, right, at the early part of the day and get it over with. But anyway, so, back to business. I can edit that out. Thank you all for completely messing me up. So we're going to preach it, sister. All right, or preach it, brother. And so what exactly does that mean? Well, let's look at your little handout, and I'll look up here. The P means point. What is your point? What do you believe about this topic, whatever the topic is, right? So that's your thesis or your topic says. What are the reasons for your belief? Why do you believe it, and why does it matter to the larger population? So why does this matter to me? Why does it matter to the larger population? So now it's not just about me, but it's about my audience who is out there, whoever they are. You with me? Now we go to the E, evidence. What is the support for my belief? And I'm going to say more about that in a minute. Okay, so just bear with me on there. Because people have asked, what kind of evidence do we need to have? All right, we'll talk about that. The A is affirmation. You know what an affirmation is, right? Well, let's explain it just a little bit. It's an explanation of how the evidence proves your point. You are affirming the evidence. You are explaining it, telling how this affirms your point, how it supports your point. Then we go to the counterclaim, which is the opposing point, with a concession and or a rebuttal, right? So it all depends on what you're using for the argument, the opposing argument, as to how you address it. You know, if they have a really strong argument, you might have to concede a little bit of it, and then tell why your argument's better, etc. You know that. Finally, the handoff. I had to kind of explain that one. We had 4 English teachers sitting in here yesterday on my planning period trying to come up with that last letter, and I finally thought of a football handoff. Okay, you know, I've got the ball, now I'm going to hand it off to you and let you go see what you can do with it. Yeah, well, it works. If you got better ideas, let me know after class, okay, and I'll change it. But anyway, the handoff is the conclusion, right? So you're handing off your idea, your thinking, your argument to your audience to let them do with it what they will. Does that make sense? You're going to have to connect to your audience members on a very personal level in order for it to be a true handoff, for them to be able to take your argument and really run with it. Does it make sense? You good with that? All right, so far, what questions do you have for me? Yeah, go ahead.
For this, what evidence are we using? Do you have that, or are we just kind of making
I'm going to put it up here. I have a slide for that. So for the evidence, let me switch it over here. We use something that's called Rehugo. You got that? I'll post that. All right, and on Rehugo, that simply means for the evidence, you're going to try to bring in evidence from your reading, what you have read, evidence from entertainment and arts, evidence from history, big universal truths, evidence from government, or evidence from your own observations. And those are the types of evidence that we look for. Those are the places where you can draw evidence to use to support your arguments. Now, that's not limited to that. It's just a lot of times students say, well, I don't really know where to get my evidence. Well, think about these. What have you read that you could use to support your argument, okay? What have you seen in the entertainment world, in the arts world, that you could use, and so on? What do you know about history, ancient or recent, whatever? But what do you know about history that could apply here as support for what you're claiming? Universal truths. Those are those big pictures, things that every human, would pretty much agree to, right? And then government. What do you see in government that's going on? And observation. It just means what do you see in your everyday life? What do you see in your everyday life that you could use as evidence? Personal anecdotes and so on like that. Personal observations. What could you use as support? All right? Yes?
Can you use facts that you make up?
I'm sorry?
Can you use fake facts? Like in middle school, they always told us.
Yeah, I know. That's kind of a middle school thing. That's not really an AP thing, and I'll tell you why. Because it's likely that your reader will figure out that it's fake, and then you've lost all credibility. Right? You've lost all credibility when you do that. Then you sound like a politician. Nobody believes anything a politician says, right? Why? Well, because they lie all the time. They make up stuff all the time. They'll take some facts or figures and twist it around to where it's nowhere near what it was meant to represent, and they use it, to make themselves look good. Therefore, the vast majority of people don't believe anything they say. You don't want that to happen to you. Make sense? All right. What other questions do you have for me? Okay, next, the question. Here's the question that I want you to respond to today. Should texting while driving be treated like drunken driving? I'm talking about in the legal system, okay? Should texting while driving be treated like drunken driving? Now, I'm going to throw a little wrench in the works here. Somewhere in your argument, you need to give us a little bit of an explanation of what would actually be considered texting and driving. Okay? Just what is texting and driving? What if I have my phone on Bluetooth and I hit the talk button, right? And I'm sending a voice text. Is that texting while driving? So you got to consider these things. All right? Yes.
Oh no, I was just saying,
Okay.
it's considered like distracted driving.
You need to define what you're talking about somewhere in here. All right? Preferably in your first sentence, you're going to give us an idea of exactly what you mean by texting and driving. Otherwise, you're going to get nailed to the floor. Okay? We good? What other questions do you have for me? All right. Carry on. I've got a lot of editing to do here, apparently.